It's a great privilege to come back to Cochin for this talk. And after a long time, I think, Philip, you're doing a meeting. Well, what I'm going to talk to you today is per-oral endoscopic myotomy. Now, this is a completely new concept or a new frontier of interventional endoscopy, which nowadays some of us have started calling it as third space endoscopy. Why third space? Because traditionally, if you go to see, the first space endoscopy is luminal endoscopy. Second space endoscopy is endoscopy which is done off the ducts which are connected to the lumen, like the bile duct and the pancreatic duct. That is doing a cholangioscopy or a pancreaticoscopy. According to some, second space endoscopy is peritonioscopy. But third space endoscopy is endoscopy being done in a space which is actually not present, which is virtually present, so which is a space which has to be created. So this is a new frontier where for the first time there was a physician working in US, a Japanese person called Sumiyama, who worked with Chris Gostout. He came up with the idea of a mucosal flap to enter into the mediastinum. Actually, his plan was to do Notes procedure, and he was finding methods of entry into the peritoneum and into the mediastinum. So instead of making a direct cut and entering into a space which is outside the lumen, he thought that why not make a mucosal flap, go below it and then enter, so that after the procedure the flap will seal off itself, and that becomes much more safer. This was the whole concept he began with. But this concept was taken up by Pankaj Pasricha in the same year, in 2007, and he described for the first time in a porcine model that in the esophagus you can make such type of a long submucosal tunnel, enter the mucosa, go in the submucosal space, make a long submucosal tunnel, and then from inside you can do a procedure of myotomy and thereby actually enter the mediastinum. Either you can do a full thickness or a partial myotomy, that is only the circular muscle fibers. Now all of us know that the layers of the esophagus, there is no serosa, there is only adventitia, and actually all the layers are stuck to each other. So therefore, to be able to perform this procedure, we have to actually create this space. And to create the space, this technique was described in humans by Inouye first, from Japan in 2010, where he showed in 20 human beings where you could perform this procedure safely and effectively. And the technique which was described was 15 centimeters above the OG junction, in the mucosa, you put in, across the mucosa, you put in some solution and create a submucosal cushion, so that the mucosa gets raised and the muscle goes away, and then enter the submucosa by using some instrument, and by dissection technique you keep on dissecting in the submucosa all along the length of the esophagus till the OG junction, and then 3 to 4 centimeters beyond it, and create a long submucosal tunnel, keeping the mucosa totally intact. So the basic principle of this technique and the most critical step is to keep the mucosa intact when the tunnel is being made. And after this is done, again put the scope inside the tunnel, and 5 centimeters below the mucosal entry you start cutting the muscle. And by this you perform a myotomy. In the initial studies which were shown by Inouye, they found that the results were remarkable and the patient had a very good relief of dysphagia, and therefore it started picking up. There were many centers in the world who started doing this procedure. Presently, if you ask me, this procedure has been in practice for almost 4 years now, and there are almost 40 centers in the entire world who are regularly practicing this technique. 3 or 4 centers in our own country. We had the opportunity to start this procedure more than 2.5 years back, and over the last few years we have gathered a reasonably large experience, which is almost nearing 400 procedures now, where we have done per-oral myotomy. I am only going to talk to you today about the technique, and then after me, when GV presents the data, we can discuss about what are the present results and what is the likely future or future course of this procedure. Well, because the procedure is done in the mediastinum, the patient has to be completely anesthetized. This was our youngest patient, a 6-year-old boy in whom we did the peroral myotomy. So, complete endotracheal anesthesia. Then we need a monitoring of the pulse oximetry as well as the NIBP, and more importantly, even the EtCO2, the blood CO2 levels. Because we have to stop the air pump on the light source of your endoscope, because air is completely contraindicated when we are doing this procedure, and it can lead to a mortality on the table itself. So air has to be stopped, only CO2 is insufflated. Then the endoscope which is used also has to have a special magnification, special resolution, so that you can differentiate between the various fibers when you are going inside the submucosal space. There is a transparent, flexible, soft plastic cap which we attach to the tip of the scope, and the scope has got special irrigation channels through which we can flush water. So this is how the assembly is. The patient is lying in the supine position because I perform a posterior myotomy, and then the first and foremost step of this procedure is to achieve a proper cleaning of the esophagus and the stomach. So it has to be a crystal clear esophagus and stomach. For example, here you can see there has been some food residue in spite of the patient being on liquid diet. So we go inside, copiously irrigate with normal saline and completely clean the esophagus as well as the stomach. The second step is to create the submucosal cushion and make an entry into the submucosa. So for this we use a very simple instrument from Olympus, which is just a small injection catheter, injection needle, 21 gauge, having a little long needle tip. So we just puncture the mucosa, pull it back until you start getting a bleb, and almost 25 cc's of a mixture which contains normal saline, a contrast medium like indigo carmine or methylene blue, and little bit of diluted adrenaline. Such type of a solution is injected in the submucosa, and then by using this ESD knife, we are making a superficial mucosal cut, longitudinal cut, which is around 1.5 centimeters long, which is actually just larger than the size of your cap, which is attached to the tip of the scope. Now, by making this cut, just by making the cut, you can't enter the submucosal space. So to facilitate entry into the submucosal space, you can see here with the same knife, what I am doing now is creating a ledge below this edge. So the edge, this longitudinal edge, by using the same knife, we are creating a ledge, so that by a torsion or a torque movement of the endoscope, we can actually push our way inside the submucosal space. So now here we are in the submucosal space, and you can see this is the areolar tissue in the submucosa. Below here, whitish area is the muscle, and on this area is the mucosa. So once you have entered the submucosal space, the first step is taken. The second step now is to start dissecting in the submucosa, and for this again we use the same knife. This is the triangle ESD knife, and by doing left and right rotatory movements of the scope, we keep on dissecting the areolar tissue in the submucosa. The secret in this procedure is to stay as close to the muscle as possible, because muscle is going to be quite thick. If you go in this direction in your dissection, then you are likely to damage the mucosa and perforate it, and if you do that, then the whole principle of the poem fails, because you need to go in and clip the mucosa again. But this is a reasonably simple dissection. You keep on dissecting in the submucosa. As you keep on dissecting, you keep on pushing the scope by a clockwise and anti-clockwise movement. You can see that there are certain blood vessels which may come crossing the muscle and going to the mucosa. Now these are normal blood vessels which are there in the esophagus, which are coming actually from the periesophageal area. So you can see this, such type of blood vessels, you have to catch them individually with a special forceps. You can see these are blood vessels, so catch them with a coag grasper, coagulate the vessel, then cut it, and then proceed. So it is a very, very accurate procedure, and as you encounter these vessels, each and every small blood vessel is coagulated. until your dissection is totally complete. We have gone till the OG junction and then 3 to 4 centimeters beyond the OG junction. So you see here, this is the area where we have almost reached in the OG junction. Now I am pulling the endoscope back. The entire submucosal tunnel you can see now, which is intact. And once the submucosal tunnel is done, the next step now is to perform the myotomy. So we once again enter the tunnel, go 5 centimeters below the mucosal entry, and then by using knives we start cutting the muscle. You see here, actually you can clearly see that this is the circular muscle fiber, these are the longitudinal fibers, and outside the longitudinal is going to be the mediastinum. I have a practice of usually doing a full thickness myotomy. So here you can see that I have put the knife beyond the longitudinal and I am cutting both the muscle fibers. And as we keep on cutting, outside you can see the pleura, the pericardium, sometimes the periesophageal venous plexus. And because the whole picture is so magnified and under vision, we can carefully avoid all these structures and make sure that you don't create a nick into the pleura, thereby creating an atelectasis. So finally you go to the OG junction, and sometimes you have to cut from below upwards instead of from above downwards. So this way you see the OG junction is cut until the myotomy is complete. So this is the end of the tunnel and the entire muscle has been cut. As I am pulling the scope out, you can see that the muscle has got separated from each other, the two edges. And then finally, after the myotomy is complete, once again inspect the tunnel that there is no bleeding whatsoever. And then all that we have to do is to close the mucosal incision, which can be done quite simply by applying clips one after the other. Just to tell you parts of the technique, the first clip application is most important, which is applied on the normal mucosa, where both the edges are merging, and then one clip after the other, we can keep on applying and create a watertight closure of the mucosal incision. So this is the basic technique of peroral endoscopic myotomy. Let me tell you that the procedure looks difficult, it looks dangerous, but actually it is an easy procedure. If you know the basic technique of dissection, you need to follow certain principles, but more importantly, what is good in this procedure are the results, because whatever patients we have done till now, you will not believe it. In 24 hours, when you look at the patient in the same day evening, you don't believe that you have done such an extensive mediastinal dissection, because it is virtually painless. The average blood loss is less than 5 cc. You don't need to pass a Ryle's tube. Patient has to be NBM only for 24 hours. After 24 hours, even without doing a contrast study, if you are sure of your clipping and your procedure, we start the patient on liquid diet. And usually, most of these patients have a complete relief of dysphagia, because on the table itself, we have performed manometry. We have found the pressures to drop below 10. On the table itself, we have performed endosonography, where we have seen that all the fibers have been cut at the OG junction, and therefore recurrence rates are not known. Reflux rates are also known to be less in POEM, the most important reason being that we do not dissect the crural mechanism of the diaphragm. The diaphragmatic crura remain intact. All that we are cutting here is the esophageal muscle, and diaphragmatic crura play a major role in the anti-reflux mechanism in the normal human being. So here, because we are doing from inside dissection, we don't need to dissect the diaphragm, and this procedure therefore looks like is going to be a very physiological procedure, and slowly it may change the way we treat achalasia cardia. Thank you so much.